בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים, שבוע טוב, חודש טוב. To everybody, we're starting our new week, continuing our series based on the Chazon Ish's Sefer Emunah v'Bitachon, to learn a little bit more about what a Jewish HaShkafa looks like, what we should strive to have BeEzrat HaShem. Tonight's shiur will be for Refuah Shlema for Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Dov ben Yechet, Yitzchak ben Dana, also for David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Orit bat Ilana, Talia bat Sarah, Yitro ben Avraham, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba for Yitro ben Avraham, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, Joshua ben Noach, also for Refuah Shlema for him, and also for a Zivug Agun for Netanel Yosef ben Avraham, and Alex ben Noach, Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, and Shaul ben Farzane, and Reuven Chaim ben Palaparel. הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותם בכל מכל כל, חיים ארוכים, שלמים, מלאים תורה, מצוות, גמילות חסדים, to them, to all of the wonderful people that are helping us, donating their time, their money, their efforts, even the watching the shiurim and contributing simply by sharing it with other people. So, Baruch Hashem, we're starting a new week. We, of course, ended off the week with a nice, interesting twist where, we wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of Vayigba libo b'darkei Hashem, that it's a mitzvah that to show off good things that you do, but also in the name of Hashem, but also to be clean. And we offered a deal to the Reshaim, Asher Meza and his partner in crime, Moshe Otero, to ask them to provide us proofs, provide the world proofs that we're charging $10,000 per conversion. And as I told you, we're expecting something interesting. We said we're going to offer them a lot of money, since all they care about is they constantly mention how much money they think I have in my pocket. It's very interesting how people always care about how much money I have rather than how much money they have. But nonetheless, they say that we're making millions of dollars off of conversions. And anyone that has dealt with me in regards with conversions, which Baruch Hashem has been many people, knows that we charge exactly $0. We've never charged a single dollar for conversions. The Bet Din charges money, but even that we try to help the people with in regards to see if we can get them the discounts, whatever we can do to put a good word, because the Bet Din doesn't pay us a single dollar. But Asher Meza and Moshe Otero refuse to believe that. They believe that they know the tricks, as Moshe Otero said in another video. Instead of responding with the evidence that you should have, if you're going to make such bold claims, by saying that, in multiple videos, that you know for sure that I charge this $10,000 or even $20,000 per person for conversion, what did they say? Like two school children, they made 3 different videos saying, maybe he charges this way, maybe he charges that way. We heard it from people. You heard it from people? Have you ever heard the halacha of Lashon Hara? Have you ever heard the halachot of Lashon Hara, or halachot of Rechilut? Have you read those before, or you discount those just like you do the rest of the Torah? But that, my friends, is what we expected. This is the reason why when I told you that there is a donor that's willing to pay them $10,000 for every single proof that they provide that we charge $10,000 or really any amount, there was no worry and there was no check to be written, because there is no proof that exists. It's funny because some of our students reached out to us and said, Rabbi, I'm sorry that you're dealing with these losers, and also that I forgot to pay you the $10,000. It's just so ludicrous, and it's not even a matter of proving them wrong for their sake. I know that they're really lost cases, especially after the last 3 videos that they came out, where they pretty much admit that their entire foundation for trying to, destroy our name and spread rumors and so on, the entire foundation of it is falling apart because it doesn't exist. They heard something from somebody. That's all they have. They don't have any checks. They don't have any email. They don't have anything. They simply, because it doesn't exist. But what do they say? They're going to continue pressing it. And Otero writes in a comment, no, maybe he charges $9,999, or maybe he charges $5,000, or maybe he just will tell us what he charges. Well, the reality is, as I've told people what I charge from day one, the amount is zero. That's it. We don't charge for conversion. We simply feel bad that people are going to go through a process that's already difficult enough with their family, with their livelihood, with their job, with their way of living and so on. For us to make money on it is not exactly the way that we're looking to make money. It's simply not. If somebody wants to donate, they're more than welcome to. But the reality is, not a single person has ever been, told that we're not going to help them because they don't have any money to donate or to give or to anything. But Moshe Otero and Asher Meza stand with their cases, just like Datan v'Aviram in last week's parasha, Parashat Korach, where Moshe Rabbeinu went to Datan and Aviram, specifically trying to talk to them, telling them that they're wrong. What do they say? They responded in the parasha, even if you take our eyes out, we're still not going to come. We're still not going to do tshuva. And unfortunately, that's what Meza and Otero did. That's what Reshaim do. Even the Gemara says, even at the gate of Gehenom, they do not do tshuva. And the only reason we bring this up time and time again is simply because of you, not because of them. I personally believe they're lost cases. They're lost cases. All they want is to get more attention. Asher wants a debate, like some Christian. He wants to debate. What are we debating? You have a different religion. I care less about. There's nothing to debate. And I've told this to people a million times. As far as debating, why would you debate with a liar that spreads rumors? It's another issue. And last but not least, one of the reasons is that he's not qualified to debate, which we'll talk about later today. But the reason why we mention these things is because it is important for the viewers that unfortunately do not know what to believe. It's important once in a while to show the viewers what's true and what's not. If a person is going to go out of their way and multiple times say something, and you say, you know what, you keep saying this, let's put your money where your mouth is. Show us the proof for what you say. You say that Yaron Reuven is taking $10,000 from people. Show it. Instead of showing it, what do they say? They start crying about the fact that, no, maybe it's a different way. We know the tricks. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And again, the offer stands, and in fact, it increases. It increases now for you guys. We're now going to pay $50,000. $50,000 for every single person that they can bring a legitimate proof that we charge the money for conversion in any way. Whether it's the Bet Din gave me money, a single dollar, any money, forget the $10,000, any money, a single dollar that the Bet Din gave me. Or the person paid me money for the sake of conversion, not he donated money out of his own heart. If he donated money out of his own heart, that's his business. I didn't tell him to donate, that he has to donate for me to help him. But if you're telling me that I charged him some type of membership fee, because they say maybe I have a membership fee, a monthly fee that you have to pay in order to deal with me. HaShem only knows how many hundreds of people I deal with every single day and help them for free and never even get a donation for years and simply continue to help. But they say, well, there's a membership fee, or there's a Bet Din fee, or there's some type of other scam. I don't know. How do they know all these scams? Maybe you're the one you should be looking in the mirror instead. But nonetheless, Rabotai Karim, if they can prove in any way, shape, or form that the Bet Din gave me any money, or anybody ever gave me any money for the sake of conversion, please provide the evidence. You'll get $50,000 per person. Per person. So you can find a family of 5, 6, 7, 18, 20 people in a family. You got yourself $1 million. You could buy a nice house over here in Gehenom that you live in, where you could buy a nice house for $1 million. But the reality is, Rabotai, they'll never have anything because it doesn't exist. If I made money off of conversion, I'd be happy to tell you about it. It's another way to pay for the yeshiva. Quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with charging for conversion. It requires an enormous amount of work to prepare the people, to sponsor them, to help them, to answer their questions and so on. We simply chose not to because my Rav says no, and I do as my Rav says. Simple. We don't charge a membership fee. We don't charge a, appreciation fee. We don't charge you're a non-Jew fee. We don't charge you are a Jew. We don't charge any fees. You want to donate, you can donate. You don't want to donate, don't donate. Simply, we care less about it. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides one way or the other. That's the reason why, Baruch Hashem, our organization has so much blessing. But people that have Ayin Hara, like Asher and Otero, can't fathom and understand how is it that they're growing so fast, how is it that they're doing so much, and they're staying in the same hole they've been in for the last 15 years without doing something illegal or doing something unethical, without doing simply business. It must be that they're doing something. The reality is, we're not. You want to continue saying bad things, creating claims? Bechabod. I actually thank you for it, because every single time you say something bad about me, all of the mitzvot that you've made, which Hashem only knows if you've actually made any, but nonetheless, whatever few you actually made, go to my account anyway. So thank you very much for the bad report and the bad names and the bad videos. You continue doing it. The reality is, Rabotai, we do these videos for the sake of the public. Anyone that wants to learn is welcome to learn. Anyone who doesn't want to learn, wants to go learn heresy, goes to Asher Meza. You can find his name in one of his many heretical pages. The reality is, Rabotai, is that it's important to clarify things to the public, because sometimes people fall trapped to some of these reshaim, because it looks like they know what they're talking about. It looks like they're trying to help people, but quite frankly, I don't have 100% proof. Like, I'm not going to claim like I do, but I do have legitimate proof of text messages, no actual financial transactions, that they do, on the other hand, actually do what they blame me. But that's a different story. So the reality is, Rabotai, is that it's important to show what you are and what you're not. If you're doing work, you want to charge for it, by all means, charge for it. And as long as you're honest and you have integrity and you're clear about it, there's no problem in charging for whatever work that you do. But if you're not charging and people say that you are, if you're doing all the work for free and people say that you're doing it for money, it is something that's a little bit annoying, to say the least. But nonetheless, you have to make sure that people know. Now, for the few people who have not watched the conversion videos that we have a 4-part series for our conversion series, which we did years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. In that video, and probably other videos as well, that I discuss conversion, I discussed the fee of the bedin. That simple. It's at that time it was around $2,000 or so. Baruch Hashem, we've succeeded in getting a few people discounts. Some people have had heavy discounts where they would get, if it was a family, we'd get a few people in for a much lesser price, even half the price. But nonetheless, it's not a fee that goes to us. It goes to the bedin. The bedin has a right to charge a fee. Why? They have lights, they have water, they have sewage, they have employees, they have stuff to pay for. You want to convert, you have to pay the money. You don't want to convert, don't convert. It's nothing wrong with them charging money. But to say that we're the ones that's taking the money is completely obnoxious. Completely obnoxious. So, again, the offer increases, doesn't stand, it increases. $50,000 for anyone that can provide proof. Proof. We charge $10,000 or $5,000 or $2,000 or $1. $1, there you go. $1 I charge for conversion, bechavod. This, Rabotai Karim, is an offer that will stand, and we'll see what kind of jokes they make of themselves from doing it. But the question is, why is it that they're hating? Why is it that someone that claims to be a Jew, which is a different story of its own, someone that claims to be a Jew, why would they have a problem with what we're doing? They're saying, oh, we're talking against good rabbis. What good rabbis? Rabbis that make fun of the Torah, bring Christian missionaries to their synagogues and put the entire community in danger. Rabbis that distort the Torah. What rabbis do we make fun of? These are rabbis that you're calling out. We're only saying what the Rambam would say. We're only saying what the Poskim would say. People that are distorting the Torah, that put Klal Yisrael in danger, that's who we're going against. Simple. Those are the people that we go against. We don't make fun of people personally usually, just because there's really nothing, no value there, unlike these clowns. But nonetheless, it's important to know that all of these different things that we're doing, every time I say something, I have to get rabbinical approval. Why? Because like a good little boy, I have to go to my rabbi. I ask if I have an idea, or he has an idea, or anything else. We discuss it. We see what's good, what's bad. Sometimes we have to go to other rabbis for second, third, fourth, and fifth opinions. But nonetheless, we always try to tell you things that we're 100% sure of. Unlike these people that just throw things into the wind and just simply decide someone told them something, or someone called them, or someone said this, or someone said that, and therefore they're going to believe it. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to verify things. When I was on Wall Street, almost 20 years on Wall Street, people would come up to me and tell me, listen, I have this stock idea. Okay, great. What's the stock idea? And they'd throw some symbol at me. I said, okay, great. 3-letter symbol, 4-letter symbol, 1-letter symbol. Thank you very much. What's the idea? Oh, that's the idea. That's not an idea. That's it's 3 letters, 4 letters, 5 letters. That means nothing to me. Give me the idea. Give me proof. Give me evidence. Give me research. Give me some type of work you've invested into why this is a good idea. Just telling me that A is a good company, which by the way is for Agilent Technologies, by the way, that's I don't know if they're still in business, but nonetheless, it's a company that we invested in 15, 20 years ago. So telling me that Agilent is a good company, or B, or C, or ABC, or SIE, or whatever it is something good, doesn't mean anything. You have to give me research. You have to give me some type of evidence, some type of proof that what you have is worth something. These people are not even, I can't even call them amateurs. If they worked for me on Wall Street, they'd get fired within 5 minutes. Fired within 5 minutes. You're telling me that you're going to make videos to make fun of somebody and blame them or accuse them of doing something simply out of thin air? Yes. And that's exactly the whole point of everything. Why is it the whole point of everything? Because that's exactly what they do with the Torah. What they do to what they've done to me personally, the whole reason I'm mentioning it today is because that's what they do to the Torah. If you notice, I don't know if anybody watches these people's videos, simply they have 5, 10, maybe 15 sources they keep mentioning over and over and over again for 15 years. 15 years, the same 15 sources. Maybe they learned one source a year. That's it. There's literally more sources mentioned in a single shiur in any of our shiurim than these people mentioned in 15 years. But the reality is, the crowd doesn't notice it because the crowd they have are ignorant people who don't know any better and like to socialize. They like to chit-chat. They like to talk. They like somebody telling them that everything is okay and whatever their beliefs are. Whether they're Christian idol worshippers or they're something else, doesn't make a difference. And it's important to know, Rabotai Karim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like this type of people. Why? Because when you take his entire ocean of Torah and you simply summarize it with 15 different things, and you simply summarize it with just a handful of things that you learn, and you just decide this is the whole Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you've taken my Torah and just simply thrown it in the garbage. And that's what such people do. Now, the beautiful thing is, Rabotai, is that the Chazon Ish has been trying to teach us week after week how critical it is. How critical it is to toil in Torah, to invest your time, to learn what the truth is, to invest your time and know how to deliver the truth, how to live the truth, how to understand the truth. And if we don't understand what the truth is, whether the truth is about MUSSAR and character traits, or it's the truth about halacha and how to apply it to your day-to-day life, if you don't know how to use these critical tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, simply the outcome is you can become, and unfortunately will become, no different than Korach based on your dedication to evil. You know, if you are only going to focus on halacha, you will become evil. If you only focus on MUSSAR, you will become evil. There is no such thing as just taking one thing and that's it. You have to take the entire Torah, and even the subject itself, you have to go and review and review and review and learn new things every single day until you've built yourself to a point where you have something of real foundation that you can even build further on. But if you're just simply going to base your entire knowledge on just one little tiny book that you read maybe once in your life, surely you'll end up being mistaken, no different than these Reshaim. Now, the Chazon Ish is going to further elaborate on the point that we discussed last week of how the Satan uses people against themselves. People that perhaps have studied perhaps more than 5 or 10 or 20 different things, but simply they've decided that the whole Torah is less. The whole Torah can be summed up by their opinion. And he continues in chapter 3, section number 17, saying the following: ועסקו של השטן ביותר באנשים גדולים המסורים לעסק היראה ותיקון המידות, אשר גבה ליבם על הדיין בעלותם, על ליבם את תקופת חייהם, מנעורם ועד עתה, ואת פרשת רוב גדולתם בחוכמת היראה ואת שפעת מעשיהם הטובים, וצבא הניסיונות אשר עמדו בם, ורואים עצמם נעלבים להיכנע למשפט של דיין רגיל בלי רוממות מיוחדה. Translation: the Satan focuses especially on great people who devote themselves to matters of fear of God and perfection of one's character traits. For such people feel superior to the judge, as they recall their lives from their youth onwards, their great fear of heaven, their wealth of good ideas, and the many spiritual trials they have overcome successfully. They see it as beneath their dignity to accept the verdict of an ordinary judge who lacks any special spiritual majesty. So here in this first paragraph of this section, the Chazon Ish gives us a very trivial situation here. We would think, normally in our lowly logic, that the Satan focuses his big weapons for all of those losers that can't help themselves and just follow all of their desires. Simply, there's no desire that they can control. If it's food, they eat whatever's in front of them. If it's intimacy and sensuality and morality and so on, all of it goes in the garbage and they take whatever they can get. Man, woman, dog, cat, whatever it is, their wife, their husband, their friend's wife, it doesn't make a difference. There are some people like that. So you'd figure Satan takes all of his big weapons and he uses it on these lowlives. Chazon Ish says, no. In fact, not at all, not even close. Those people create enough demons from their actions that the Satan doesn't have to do anything at all. Why? They have already made themselves addicted to the sin where the Satan doesn't have to entice them to do anything. So where does the Satan invest all of his energy? On great people. Not just great people in money, great people in position. No. Great people in the aspect of those that have spent an enormous amount of time learning about Yirat Shamayim, fear of heaven. People that have watched a lot of our lectures, people that are giving the lectures, people that have wrote books, people that have done a lot of big things in the world of Yirat Shamayim, fear of heaven. Those people that tell you have to fix yourself. Ooh. Fix yourself. That guy should be the last one to fix himself. Wrong. Satan is going to allow that person to build themselves up. Build themselves up. Keep going, grow stronger and stronger and write more books and teach more shulim and do more things. Why? Because if you do it for the sake of yourself, if you do it for the sake of lining your pockets, if you do it for the sake of notoriety, if you do it for ratings, if you do it for all of that, Satan says, I already got you. You just don't know about it yet. I already have you in my hands. You just don't know about it. Why? I'm not letting you fall for some girl or some this or some that. I'm going to let you do your thing. Go, make lectures, write books, read, do whatever it is that you're doing. Oh, tell everybody about Genom and all the wonderful things. Go, do it. I'm not going to bother you at all. Why? Because you're not doing it for heaven. You're doing it because you want to be popular. You're doing it because you want ratings. You're doing it because you want to be known everywhere. So you're not doing it for the sake of heaven. You're doing it for a different reason. So that means that one day when I bring a bet din to your door, there is a bet din at your door saying, you have a lawsuit against you. What's the lawsuit? Such and such person says you wronged them. You wronged them. You have to go. Jewish person, another Jewish person. You have to go to the bet din. Okay, bet din, I'll go to bet din. Fine. You see, you go to the bet din. You know who the other person is. And the judge, the dayan, the Talmid Chacham, but not exactly as well known as you are. Not exactly as reputable as you are. Quite frankly, you never heard of the guy in your life. But he's a dayan. He learned Torah. He passed some test. He knows what he's talking about, and he became a dayan. And he's the dayan of your case. And now, to hear the case, your opposer says his case. You say your case, and the dayan reviews all the facts and says, you, my friend, owe such and such X amount, or the case is essence against you. So, you, Mr. Famous, you, Mr. Great Yirat Shamayim, you, Mr. Clever person that's known everywhere and has a lot of YouTube fans, you, don't want to really accept his judge's decree, his din. Why? Who is he to tell you what to do? Does this judge know how popular I am? Does this judge know how reputable I am? Does this judge know how many tests I overcame? When he was a little boy, this judge, he used to be in my yeshiva, I remember. Everybody went on a class trip, and I didn't go on a class trip. He went on a class trip, I didn't go on a class trip. Why? I was learning about Yirat Shamayim. I was learning about serving HaShem. This guy went on a class trip. He went to the mountains somewhere. I went and I learned Torah. You know how many times I had tests of this, that, and the other thing? What test did this judge have, this dayan have? And all of a sudden, you say to yourself, I'm not going to accept this judge's din. Now at that moment, the Satan is dancing the dance of a lifetime. Why? That's what he's been waiting for 50 years. A dayan gives you a psak, and you ignore it. You disobey it, which is Chilul Hashem, that there is no rectification for it until a person dies. Only then the tshuva can begin. Chilul Hashem is number one. Number two, you're creating machloket just like Korach, another Yisur Deoraita. Number three, you're going against the Bet Din, another gigantic sin. Number four, you're creating two Torahs, your Torah and the rest of Am Yisrael's Torah. And the amount of sins, karet sins, horrible sins, sins that there's literally almost no rectification from, that a person makes when he simply rejects the din of the Bet Din, is so horrible that this great person literally loses everything he built. Everything he built for 50 years. Just like that. Why? Because the root of everything that he did was heretical to begin with. The root of everything that he did was prideful and filthy to begin with. So the Satan let him grow. The Satan let him become more popular. Because now that he falls, Satan's going to make a bunch of people fall with him. And unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, this unfortunately has happened in history. This has happened even at the time of the Bet HaMikdash. We had a Kohen Gadol for decades, who went and became 100% an apikos. And unfortunately, there's been other times, even recently, where you had a Gadol Ador, you had a giant Chacham, like Rav Ovadia, or others, Rav Eliashiv, tell people you are mistaken. You are mistaken with whatever you just said, with whatever you just wrote, with whatever you just did. Psak halacha is, you are wrong. And those people felt that listening to this dayan, even though he's not a regular ordinary dayan, he's a Gadol Ador, even that's beneath them. Why? They have seen so much in their life, so much blessing, so much good, so much this, so much that. They figured they've become like a mini David HaMelech, where halacha is like them no matter what they say. Obviously, David HaMelech, everything he said was 100% what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying. But they think that they could say whatever they want. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu paskins. This, Rabotai, is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a person, where they could go into the Torah, they could start doing tshuva, they could learn, they could read, they could write, they could do 1.5 million different things. But the root of what they're doing, the root, something's wrong with the root. Rabbi Yagen alav shalom says a story that one time he met this agriculturist. Met this agriculturist, person that knows agriculture, and he saw him, and there's another guy that's sitting over there, and he's sitting with a plant in his hand, and the agriculturist looks at the plant. He tells the guy, you shouldn't plant that. He says, why not? He says, because the fruits that are going to come out of this tree, they're going to be bitter. So the guy is surprised. Rabbi again is surprised. You know that just by looking at this little baby tree. You know how big it's going to be once it grows. He says to him, listen, I spent 40 years learning what I'm doing. And yes, I can tell just by looking at it. You can't tell. Why? Because you look at it. There's a tree over there. There's a couple of leaves. It looks kind of cute. It's a little baby. You're waiting for it to grow and grow some fruits. Right? That's what you're looking for. I'm not looking for the leaves. I'm looking at the roots. And I see over there, in the root over there, you see that black dot over there? He said, yeah, that's not dirt. You see that black dot? Yeah. He says, that black dot means that the fruits that are going to come out of that tree are going to be bitter. So you're going to spend the next few years babying this tree just to have bitter, disgusting fruits. Because that's what the black dot means. Rabotai Yekarim, a person can have a black dot on his neshama that he's well aware of, that she's well aware of, that comes from pride, that comes from ego, that comes from some type of desire that they simply, I don't need to work on this, even though they know they need to. Because they figure they do enough good everywhere else, I don't need to work on these other things. And lie to themselves for decades and allow the Satan to take advantage of them, of something they already know of. It's not like they're not aware of their pride. It's not like they're not aware of their ego. It's not like they're not aware of all of the few difficulties that they have in overcoming something. They know they have it, but they ignore it. And the Satan says, thank you for doing my job. I'm going to do your job. I'm going to make you grow, make you popular, make you everything. Why? One day I'm going to build you up. You're going to have 150,000, 250,000, 1 million fans on your channels, on your this and on your that. And you're going to teach all of them heretical teachings because you are a heretic inside. And you've been a heretic the whole time. This, Rabotai Yekarim, is a very big danger for each and every single one of us. Whether you are popular or you're simply a common person out there. Every one of us has to really look in the mirror. Not just the real mirror that's physical, but the spiritual mirror. And look at themselves and see, okay, where are my weaknesses? Where are my weaknesses? I need to do something about them. Okay, I can't do something about all of them one day, but I need to acknowledge that I have to work on this. I need to acknowledge that this is a weakness and not a strength and not something to ignore. I need to do something about it. When a person is real with themselves, that's already half the battle. But when a person lies to themselves, those lies get more and more damaging over time, and the Satan will simply make that grow to the point of almost no return, or unfortunately no return. And that's what the Chazon Ish is saying over here, is that when a person simply disregards the actual halacha, disregards it. Why? He doesn't think that the posek is right. He doesn't think that the posek is right. Why? Because he thought he's going to win. He thought he's right. He invested a lot of time to think he's right. And it cannot be that this nobody, Posek, is going to tell me I'm wrong. Why? Because we both learned. He learned, I learned. I'm popular, he's not popular. I'm well known, he's not well known. I wrote a book or 2 or 3. He maybe wrote an email to his wife. So, no way that he knows more than me. You, my friend, have a very serious problem. Have a very, very serious problem. And if a person does not take care of this critical issue, it could become a chronic problem that could lead to a person's demise. Now, the Gemara says something out of this world to show how the Gemara is not only not biased, but is as real as it could possibly get. If you look at any other religion, any other wisdom, any other type of intellectual field, where they discuss their heroes, they discuss their scholars, generally, you'll read in there stories about how great those people are, and how those people, as if they saw no evil and did no evil, even if they were 100% evil. And you'll see many, many times that the reality is quite different than what the book says if you follow these people long enough. Like, for example, if you look at many of the teachings that you'll learn today in schools about Zionism, you're never going to hear the things that we've discussed in lectures, which are also public knowledge. I went to Binghamton University, and I took a Zionism class. I took a Zionism class for 2 semesters. And I remember they gave us, I don't know, maybe like 1,000 or 1,500 page textbook that with small print that we had to read through this semester, and to pass the class, to pass the test, and so on. And the whole time it talks about the history of Herzl and all of his followers and all of his supporters and so on and so forth. And in the entire book, you're never going to see a single thing talking about how Herzl wanted to destroy Judaism, how he wanted to convert all of the Jews to Christianity, chas v'shalom, how the rest of his followers were either Christian followers or atheists that hated the Torah, communists. You're never going to find it in that book. And the same thing with Zionistic teachings in today. In schools in America, in schools in Israel, and other countries, you're never going to hear these teachings, even though it's all public knowledge. In fact, even recent information that was discovered in the court cases in Israel over the last 50 or 60 years, when they were trying all of these Nazis, these killers, and in the process of trying Eichmann and the rest of the Reshaim that were caught, they also discovered that some of the Nazis, some of the worst people on planet Earth, were not known to the world as Nazis. In fact, they were known to the world as Zionist heroes. Zionist heroes like this Dr. Castor, Yimach Shemo v'Zichro, who himself was a Zionist leader, head of the Agudat Israel, or the Jewish agency, and was a hero from Hungary, supposedly saved the Jewish lives, and so on and so forth. In the trial in Israel, they proved that he not only did not save, he helped the Nazis. He worked hand in hand with the Nazis to murder almost 1 million Hungarian Jews. Almost 1 million Hungarian Jews were murdered, literally, by the Nazis. He knew about it. They even gave him clothes like the Nazis. And not only did no one know this for a long time until it was brought up in court, but after it was brought up in court, after him and his friends and whoever followed him and helped him and so on, this stuff came out. It went right under the carpet. Right under the carpet. He still got a big political job in the Zionist government of Israel. And now his granddaughter, Yimach Shemo v'Zichra, is one of the people that is anti-Torah in the government of Israel today. So not only are the things of yesteryear completely ignored, but even stuff that's recent ignored. And generally speaking, when people wanted to write some of the bios of the heroes of Zionism, and they said, listen, we believe they're heroes. We're going to talk about their lives. We're also going to talk about their mistakes. Delete that section of the book. You're never going to see their filth in any of their books that support them. Never. Why? Because that's generally the system. Same thing with Christianity or with Islam or any of these other religions out there. You're never going to see their flaws inside the books. That's the difference between their falsehood that make, pretend like these people are some type of divine beings as if they make no mistakes, and our Holy Torah. Our Holy Torah is full of stories that show the mistakes of the greatest people that ever lived. Whether it's Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, the 12 tribes, David HaMelech, and so on, which again, in their level will be considered mistakes, in our level it's not even a mistake. But nonetheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the truth in the entire Torah, and the sages that put together the Talmud, with divine inspiration, did exactly the same thing. In the Gemara, Masechet Tanit is just one of those many stories. One of those many stories where the Gemara tells you something shocking. Gemara Masechet Tanit, page 20a, in the beginning of 20b, says a story about one of the greatest sages that ever lived. Rabbi Elazar, ben Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai went into the cave 13 years with his son, Rabbi Elazar, meaning his son wasn't that different than him. He was in the cave studying with angels. Some people would say that the Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov came into the cave, Eliyahu Navi. I mean, what happened in that cave is something out of this world. But nonetheless, Rabbi Elazar was one of the greatest sages we ever had in Judaism. And the Gemara says the following. An incident happened with Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon coming from Migdal Gedor, from his teacher's house. He was riding on a donkey and traveling along a riverbank, and he rejoiced greatly, and the feeling was very proud of himself, for he had learned much Torah from his teacher. Rabbi Shimon, great teacher, he has a great son. His son was able to learn an enormous amount of Torah, was one of the greatest sages that ever lived. This Rabbi Elazar, this son of Rabbi Shimon, he finishes his learning session and he is happy, he's rejoicing, he's proud of the amount of Torah that he learned. Now today, we don't really have a real understanding of what a lot of Torah is. Why? Because people think, oh, yeah, he learns a lot of Torah. What does he do? He watches 2 or 3 YouTube videos a day, perhaps maybe reads a chapter of Mesilat Yesharim. That's a lot of Torah. Oh no, that guy is Talmid Chacham. Oh wait, what is Talmid Chacham? Yeah, no, he does a Daf Yomi. He does a Daf Yomi already for a few years. Oh, he's Talmid Chacham, he does Daf Yomi. Does 1 page of the Gemara a day, that means he's a Talmid Chacham. Oh no, he is Gaon. Oh, what is Gaon? He does Daf Yomi and he watches a few YouTube videos. Look, we don't, he spends 3-4 hours a day learning Torah. That guy, he's the next Gdol Hador. Oh yeah, he's Gdol Hador. Wow, Gdol Hador. Wow, what about him? He learns in yeshiva, does the yeshiva 8 hours a day, he's learning Torah. That's what today, unfortunately, that's what we think our people. We think somebody learns a couple hours a day, 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day. These people are giants. When the Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar studied a lot of Torah, it doesn't mean that. Why? We know from the Gemara Masechet Shabbat that the Chachamim, like Rabbi Elazar, were talking about the previous generation before them. And they said that if the previous Chachamim before us were angels, then we are like men. But if they were men, then we are like donkeys, because we are less than them. We are less than them. They're talking about themselves. Needless to say, we are less than them, because there's the degradation of the generations. So, if the Gemara is saying that Rabbi Elazar learned a lot of Torah, it means a lot more than a few hours. I'll give you another raya, another proof. Some people don't understand what a Gadol Hador is. In fact, most people don't. Because they figure he's a person that they saw him in a picture. He's a person that perhaps wrote a book that they never read. He's a person that eats just like them, puts his pants on just like them. Perhaps he has a beard that's longer than theirs, but other than that, there's not much difference between them. Why? He figures he learns Torah. He learns Torah. He reads a book, he reads a book. He speaks Hebrew, he speaks Hebrew. He speaks a different... What's the difference between us? To be a Gadol Ador, Rabotai Yekarim, it's not something that comes to you just because you have a beard and you learn a few hours, or perhaps you wrote a book. It doesn't happen that way. Many people know Rav Kanievsky. Rav Kanievsky, the amount of learning that he does in one day is, without a doubt, more than what people learn in their entire lifetime. One time, one of the Talmidim publicized what he learns every single day. 7 pages of Talmud Bavli, 7 pages of the Yerushalmi, Sifta, Sifri, Zohar, Midrashim, enormous amount of Torah in a single day, every single day, for already 80 years. Finishes all of it every single year. The amount that he literally learns every day, not the whole year, though every day is more than most people learn their entire life. But let's go a step further. His father. Well, if I tell you amount of pages, it's hard to understand if you've never learned that many pages. So I'm going to give you in time. Every Talmid Chacham, every person that wants to be a Talmid Chacham, has what's called a seder. A seder is a study session. Study session. Now, your average person out there has a study session where they'll watch my lecture. If they could stand the whole thing, 2 hours straight of me rambling and yelling and giving you a few sources from the Torah, for 2 hours straight, they already feel great about themselves. And they should, because it's definitely progressing in their life. But nonetheless, it's not toiling in Torah yet. Why? Let's see what toiling is. If a person goes to yeshiva, usually they have first seder in the morning, let's say for 2 to 4 hours. Then they have a little bit of break to eat something, and then another seder for 2 to 4 hours, depending on what yeshiva you go to, sometimes 6 hours. But nonetheless, a good bachur will learn for a solid 8 to 10 hours, maybe even 12 if they're really exceptional. That's the seder, and that's again with breaks. The father of Rav Kanievsky, the Stipler Gaon was his name, Rav Yaakov Kanievsky. He was named the Gaon, Stipler Gaon. He had a different type of seder. What was his seder? His seder, Rabotai, was 36 hours straight, then 8 hours of sleep. Then again, 36 hours straight of learning Torah, then 8 hours of sleep. That was the seder of the Stipler Gaon. Not, I'm going to learn 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, take a break, then no. 36 hours straight, with the exception of praying quickly, then sleep for 8 hours. For every 36 hours of learning, 8 hours of sleep. That was the seder of the Stipler Gaon. Now, the Chatam Sofer, which preceded him, Chatam Sofer had a different seder. Chatam Sofer had a 40-hour seder. For every 40 hours straight of learning Torah, sleep for 8 hours. And he said, every Jew has to do this. And he brought a pasuk. He brought a pasuk from the book of Job, chapter 3, verse 13, where he says, Az is then. Then I will be able to, I'll have a rest. Where it says the Az is Gimatya 8. Az is Aleph is 1, Zayin is 7, Az is 8. And I, meaning for me, is Li. Li is Lamed Yud. Lamed Yud is 40. See, so here I have a source. He says that for every 40 hours of learning Torah, I will sleep 8 hours. Today, perhaps we've switched up a little bit, or understanding of Talmid Chacham, where for every 40 hours of sleep, maybe we're going to actually learn 8 hours. Maybe. But that, Rabotai, is why it's so ludicrous when people that are ignorant of what the Gdolei Ador are, people that are ignorant of what the sages are, not only make fun of them, but discount their teachings as if they're on the same field or even in a position to debate the sages. It was one time that Rav Ovadia told his son that, please, I'm going to go take a nap, wake me up in a half hour. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon. Now, Rav Ovadia wasn't exactly known for taking naps in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. So his son asked him, Abba, is everything okay? You feeling okay? He said, yeah, I just need to take a short nap to get energy. He said, but are you feeling okay? Why are you taking a nap? He goes, because I started writing a tshuva, an answer for an halachic matter in my responsa, started on Motzei Shabbat. And simply I forgot to sleep until now. So I have to go take a rest for a half hour because I forgot to sleep since Saturday. I forgot to sleep since Saturday. It's Tuesday. Maybe we forget an appointment with the doctor. Maybe we forget an anniversary, a birthday. Most of the time we don't forget to eat. Sleep, no one forgets. Nonetheless, Ovadia, the giants, don't forget to sleep sometimes. Why? Because they're so deep in the Torah world that for them, it's not a matter of sleep being a waste of time. It's a matter of Torah is their life. So when a person understands what a Gadol Hador is, he simply bows the head and says, that's what they said, that's what I do. That's what they said, that's what I do. But even these giants were not in the level of Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon from the time of the Gemara. And here the Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon was proud because he learned a lot of Torah. If they learned standard 40 hours straight, 35 hours straight, 20 hours straight, what's a lot of Torah to him? I have no idea. All I know is it's a lot. And here we see that he was proud of it. I would be proud of it. I'm proud if I have a 10-hour session. Today, if I have a 4-hour session, I'm proud. Here he's proud of a lot of Torah. Mabruk, why not be proud? But the Gemara says that this pride, what did this pride lead to? As he was riding on his donkey and going, he happened to see a person that was exceedingly ugly. An ugly person. And the person says hello to him, and he doesn't respond to him. He says to him, empty one. How ugly is that man? Meaning, he not only doesn't respond to him, but he responds to him in an insulting way. Says, you're ugly. And the person took it personally and says to him, he says to him that, you ugly person, are all the people of your city as ugly as you? And the ugly person says to him, I don't know, but go and tell that to the craftsman who made me, how ugly the vessel that you made is. So here we see the Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon, the little moment of pride from learning Torah gave him a little bit of pride that he saw somebody that was ugly, and he said perhaps the wrong thing, and then the person responded with a clever response saying, go to the Creator and tell him I'm ugly, because he's the one that made me. And Rabbi Elazar realized that he did wrong, and he ended up apologizing to him and so on. But the point here is, first of all, the first question is, how could such a thing happen? How could someone that's a Gadol Hador call somebody ugly? That's question number one. Question number two, which is extraordinary, this whole thing in the first place. Question number one, how could you call somebody ugly? Question number two, why didn't the Torah help him? Why didn't the Torah help him? So to end the question number one, we go to the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai says that when a person makes a lot of sins, it makes their face ugly over time. And you'll notice that many times people that eat a lot of forbidden food and pig and things that the Torah says not to eat, even if it's non-Jews, they're allowed to eat it. But if you see people that eat a lot of pig and a lot of animals that are just generally speaking disgusting animals, then you'll see that their faces change over time. They start looking a little bit more like the animals. But nonetheless, when a person makes a lot of sins, it makes their face ugly. It just does. So and Rabbi Shimon was looking at the person's neshama, and he saw that this person was full of sins. So he called him an empty one. You're empty of sins. You're empty of mitzvot. You're full of sins. You're ugly. In essence, rebuking him in a harsh way right to his face. Right to his face. Now, it's true what he said. The person was ugly, both physically and spiritually. But is that the right way to talk to him, though? He himself realized it's the wrong way to do it. He realized it's the wrong way to do it. So he apologized. So the question is, how come the Torah didn't help him? How come the Torah didn't help him? The reason is, Rabotai Karim, is that sometimes if you learn Torah and you don't pay attention to the things around you and you don't test yourself and you don't start realizing that not everybody's on your level, not everybody is doing the same thing as you, not everybody is have the same clarity as you, you could easily start developing an ego and start thinking that you're better than the rest of mankind. And the Mishnah in Avot says, even if you've learned, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, even if you've learned a lot of Torah, don't be proud, because that's what you create for. Lekach nutzarta. Even if you learn a lot of Torah, don't be prideful. Why? For that you were created. For that you were created. But nonetheless, our holy Gemara tells us, listen, even the giants have had mistakes, and we note it. Because we can learn from it. Because if we only note the mistakes of the losers, then you're going to say, listen, it's fine. I don't want to learn from losers. I want to be a winner. If the winners, you only see the great things about the winners, the tzaddikim, say, listen, I'm not a tzaddik. I can never be like him. He never sinned, this guy. But the Gemara tells us objective reality. It tells you even the tzaddikim have made mistakes, and look how they fixed themselves. Well, you see the rest of that story in the Gemara, where he apologizes intensely over and over again until he eventually forgives him. But nonetheless, Rabotai Karim, we see here that sometimes if a person learns a lot of Torah, if they do not look in the mirror on a regular basis, they can easily go and become proud of it. Proud in a way that's not appropriate. It's very good to be proud of yourself for learning Torah as far as if you're just measuring yourself versus yourself. But if you start comparing yourself to other people, start looking at people in a way where you are better than them, you are smarter than them, and things like that, you're already going in the wrong direction. So here the Chazon Ish says the following, that when a person has raised themselves, elevated themselves, where they learned a lot about Yirat Shamayim, they learn a lot of good things, but they've gotten to the point where they start looking down at everybody else, all of those people that are still violating Shabbat, all of those people that have learned but nowhere near as much as them, all of those people that perhaps don't know as much as they do or not as popular as they are. Satan is looking for those people. Satan is looking for those people much more than he's looking for those people that they're looking down on. Now, the Chazon Ish continues saying that an ongoing error that has followed a person from youth is not like a temporary error. That's a one-time mistake. Where Rabbi Elazar, the mistake that we just noted, that's a one-time mistake. That wasn't his way on a regular basis. Here we're talking about an ongoing mistake, where a person is constantly looking down at people, constantly rejecting the judgment of the poskim, constantly thinking that they know better than the gdolim, and in essence saying stupid things like, oh, none of the big rabbis today know what they're talking about. If you're saying, listen, the local rabbi that you have, or perhaps the general average people that you know and you've met are not doing the right job to help the community, that's one thing. But to say that the biggest rabbis in the world, the biggest scholars in the world, they also don't know what they're talking about, now you're crossing the line. Why? Because you're not in their shoes in order to know what they're dealing with. That's number one. Number two, you haven't learned anywhere near as much as they did to know what is the real way to deal with certain things. But so when a person makes such blanket statements about the sages, obviously you know that they're going in the wrong direction. And they have a pride that's even bigger than them. Now, this is more of an ongoing mistake. And as we've said, Chazon Ish continues, anyone who has not labored over knowing the halacha has not acquired wisdom, as it says in Avot Rabbi Natan, chapter 29. Anyone who possesses knowledge of the midrash, but does not possess knowledge of the halachot, has never tasted wisdom. So the first section of the Avot Rabbi Natan, chapter 29, says, know this, that even if you've studied one aspect of the Torah that's very critical, halacha, the actual law itself, if you've learned it and learned it and learned it, but you did not learn the midrash, or vice versa, you learned the midrashim, you learned the agadot, you learned MUSSAR, but you didn't learn halacha. That's a lackings. What is this lackings? If you possess knowledge of the midrash, but you don't possess the knowledge of the halacha, you've never tasted wisdom. Meaning that you're never going to become a Talmid Chacham. You don't even know what a Talmid Chacham is. All you have is you have stories, you have things that perhaps will make somebody scared of sinning the big sins, but nothing about the small ones. You don't really know how to act, how to behave, when to utilize certain things. In so many words, there is no wisdom in you. No wisdom in you. And anyone who possesses knowledge of halacha and does not possess the knowledge of the midrash has never tasted the fear of sin. Where he says this, if you've studied a lot of halacha, but you don't study the midrashim, you've never tasted the fear of sin. This, by the way, as a side note, is one of the main root problems of the so-called rationalists like Slifkin, Meza, Prager, and the rest of the Reshaim in that group, that all on a regular basis make fun of anything that's not halacha, where they say midrashim are like fables and fairy tales where it's elective to believe this, and they in essence, take what our sages have said and downplay it in such a way that it's as if it's like nonsense. It's like a Harry Potter book. And they also say this about the Zohar, and they say this about different parts of the Gemara, and everything else. They take the midrashim and they simply tell you that it's all fairy tales. Here, the Chazon Ish says the following, in the name of Avot Rabbi Natan, if you have not learned, you don't have knowledge of the midrashim, you're also not going to have any knowledge of what fear of the Almighty is. Simple. One comes with the other. You learn the midrash, you're going to learn about fear of heaven. You don't learn the midrash, you're not going to learn about fear of heaven. You're not going to know how to utilize these halachas. And that's what ends up happening, where they will tell you, yeah, this is the halacha, but they won't know how to apply it the right way. They'll tell you, yeah, this is the halacha, but they won't tell that to the right person. Yeah, this is the halacha, but they're actually incorrect in how they're interpreting it. Simple. They just simply look at things in a very bone-dry way, without taking into the account fear of heaven, community, other people, understanding, Gdolei Ador, the customs, everything else. They look at things just plain black and white, and the Torah is extremely colorful. There is no black and white. There is no black and white. Everything has to be reviewed with a bit of Yirat Shamayim, a bit of knowledge, and for sure a lot of opinions from the Gdolim, who have evaluated things that you are not privy to yet because you have not learned as much as them. And for people like Meza and the others that make fun of the Zohar, go ahead and ask them, how many times have you completed the Zohar that you make fun of on a regular basis? How many times have you completed the Midrash Rabbah? How many times have you completed the Talmud Yerushalmi or the Talmud Bavli? How many times have you read the whole thing? How many times? Now, here you have, for example, this is one of about 50 books of the Zohar. Now, there's, of course, different publications. You have some publications that have 16 or 18 books, some publications that are smaller books like this. That is the whole Zohar, let's say, in 50 of these. I would bet anything, if I was illegal to bet, that Meza and the rest of the clowns that follow him not only did not read the whole 50, that would be my publication or an 18 in somebody else's publication. It's all the same book, just different size of books. Not only didn't read the whole 18 or the whole 50, but even one of these little baby ones. One of these little baby ones, they've never read the whole thing from beginning to end. Never read the whole thing from beginning to end. And especially, I would even increase the wager and say they would never read a single page
with understanding the full page. Not a single time. But yet they make fun of it like it is something like a mitzvah to make fun of it. They make fun of the things of the sages as if it's a mitzvah to make fun of the sages. And that's the reality, Rabotai, is that the reason why no one that's a real chacham would ever waste their time debating such clowns is because they're not qualified to debate. Simply put, not qualified. You cannot debate an expert in medicine unless you yourself are an expert in medicine. You can't just tell him, listen, I disagree with what procedure you decided to give this person on his heart. I think you should have done something else. He's going to say, okay, what is backing your opinion, your disagreement? He's going to tell him, listen, I just think you could do it better. Great, you think I could do better. I appreciate you think you could do it better. But what gives you the audacity to say that an expert is wrong? Well, you know, there's a show on TV, on Discovery Channel, and one time you learned from a TV show? You learned from a YouTube video? You learned from reading one page? I've been studying for 20, 30, 40 years straight, 50 years straight, and you're telling me you want to challenge me? This is the reality. These clowns that make fun of the Zohar, these clowns that make fun of our Torah, have never read it. They simply have never read it. All they do is they read a few chapters here and there of different things, perhaps a few articles that summarize those few things, and they simply say, now their opinion qualifies. Why? Because they know how to speak perhaps with a few sentences that make sense, perhaps a few more sentences that make it into something that rhymes, and perhaps maybe add a few more sentences just to give it some color. That's all. That's all they do. They sound like they know what they're doing. And since the general public knows even less than them, they agree with them as long as they're a good speaker. Same concept in politics and in other things. Most people that voted for Barack Obama have no idea why they voted for him. They have no. Now, after he got in, whether you agree or disagree with what he did, that's a different story. But the reason why people voted for him initially, no one actually knows why. Why? There's no real reason to vote for a guy that has never done anything in politics, never done anything to speak of in anything in life. But nonetheless, people voted for him. Why? He's a very, very good speaker. Very good speaker. No different Adolf Hitler. There was no legitimate reason to make Hitler into the chancellor, to lead the new Germany into a World War II. No legitimate reason. The guy wrote Mein Kampf that was sitting on shelves for 20 years. Published by a guy named Haman, which is amazing discovery, by the way. Sitting on shelves for 20 years. No one liked the book. Most people thought it was too extreme to be realistic. One day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides to make him, in essence, the king, the chancellor of Germany, and start killing a bunch of Jews, as an unfortunate situation that happened to our nation. But why? Why? What kind of legitimate explanation can you give to why would anybody vote for this evil monster? He wasn't qualified to do a lot of things, but you make him the top position? Easy. He was by far the best speaker in recorded history. By far. You do not need to know what he says to be inspired. Do not need to know what he says to be inspired. He had such charisma. Mamash from the Satan himself put the charisma in this person. And he knew how to speak and get the crowd riling like never before. School teachers became murderers because of this person. Unbelievable what he did. Made sense? No! But it was so charismatic, it was so passionate, people followed. This, Rabotai, has been part of history since the beginning, hence the reason why HaShem specifically made Moshe Rabbeinu not a good speaker, where he had two speech impediments, both stuttering and stammering, except when he said Divrei Torah. But nonetheless, Rabotai Yekarim, most of these heretics have this in common, where they have the ability to speak in such a fashion where the average crowd that's naive and ignorant of the truth is simply going to follow them. Whereas the scholars will frown upon it and once in a blue moon perhaps even speak against it. And people are going to say, why are you speaking against this great rabbi? Why are you speaking against this great person? Don't you know he's a giant, he's a chassid, he's a this, he's a that? And any real scholar says, what are you talking about? This guy's an Ama'aretz ignoramus. He doesn't know anything. Everything he says is wrong. Everything he says is the opposite of the Torah. But since you know less than him, you think he's a genius. But anyone that really knows this guy has never finished one masechet in a Gemara. One masechet, not the entire Shas. One masechet from beginning to end with understanding the whole thing. Never in his life. Never in his life. But you fools follow. Why? Because you know less than him. Because your whole knowledge is based on perhaps reading a few articles from a few other heretics that summarize the summary of somebody else. Whereas the real Chachamim go and delve deep down inside and understand what's being said. Understand what's being said. But a person that makes fun of the sages can only assure you one thing. For sure, they're an ignoramus. For sure, they don't know what they're talking about. They simply don't. Why? Because anyone that goes into the wisdom of the Torah, whether it's the written Torah or the oral Torah, whether it's the part of the oral Torah that's the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Zohar, the Shulchan Aruch, the Poskim, the Chachamim of recent generations, of past generations, Rishonim, Achronim, whatever they go into, they're going to find such wisdom and such amazingness in there that they're literally going to be afraid to say anything negative about it. Afraid if they actually really do study it. But that's what happens, Rabotai. Where sometimes you'll see people delve into a few things, sometimes even a lot of few things. Not just, but a lot of few things. But never from beginning to end, never with real comprehension, never with Yirat Shamayim or good intentions, but rather learning for the sake of spreading their own opinion and just looking for their opinion wherever they could find it. Those such people are people that could learn the halacha without the midrash and therefore never taste what fear of sin is. Never taste what fear of the Almighty is. Never understand what it is. Never understand why anybody is at the kotel like Rav Adis Sheikhye. Rav Adis is at the kotel every day crying his heart out. But yet Reshaim Arurim, like this Yonatan Levi, writes on the internet that Rav Adis is perhaps sick in his mind because he's crying so much at the kotel for the sake of the Shekhinah, for the sake of Am Yisrael. One of the biggest chachamim in our generations, one of the biggest tzaddikim in our generation, this Rasha Merusha in California says perhaps he's mentally sick. And yet people say, oh yeah, this Yonatan Levi, he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He makes fun of somebody that wrote over 50 books. He's in one of the biggest giants in our generation, calling him that he's mentally sick. You're saying that guy's a chacham? That guy's a rasha! But what are they going to do? They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they don't know because they just evaluate things based on image and based on speaking ability. Simply the surface. No understanding of what Yirat Shamayim is. No understanding of what fear of the Almighty or fear of sin is. And the reason why the students don't know is because the teachers themselves don't know. How would the students know what fear of sin is if they choose teachers that themselves hate fear of sin, hate Yirat Shamayim, hate anything that disagrees with them to such capacity that they make fun of it? This, Rabotai, is one of the greatest things that a person can learn in protecting their neshama from evil that's everywhere. And Chazon Ish continues saying, whoever possesses knowledge of midrash and not halachot is an unarmed, able-bodied man. Whoever possesses knowledge of halachot and not of midrash is an armed weakling. And whoever has both things is both able-bodied and armed. simply puts it as an analogy. If a person has knowledge of the midrash, meaning he has knowledge of MUSSAR, he has knowledge of fear of sin, but he doesn't know halachot, then he's like one of these muscular guys going to war, but he has no weapons. He has no weapons. For sure he'll die. Even if you knock out the few people, one guy with a gun makes the strongest man in the world nothing. But if he's a person that has a lot of knowledge in halacha, a lot of knowledge, but no knowledge of midrash, he's like a person that has the biggest bazooka, Uzi, cannon, but he's a weakling. Can't even hold it up. He doesn't know how to use it. Why? He has no fear of heaven. He has no understanding of how to use the weapons. But if he has both the understanding of the midrash, meaning he has understanding of Yirat Shamayim, and he has understanding of halacha, then he's both an able-bodied person and he's armed. He's the perfect soldier of HaShem. And the Talmud is full of halachas and agadot and midrash. And it says in the Tosfot of Masechet Kedushin, page 30a, that whoever refrains in his youth from laboring in halacha, leaving himself unarmed and without having tasted wisdom, what can he pride himself in? On what grounds does he feel superior? For if he's lacking in these things, what can he claim to have acquired? And this leads us to the next point, is that Chazon Ish says that someone, young person, goes to yeshiva, but he doesn't want to toil in the difficult parts of the Torah, to learn the halacha, to figure out how that the Chachamim and the Gemara arrive at such a conclusion. Why does the Shulchan paskin this way? Why do the Posek paskin this way? He doesn't want to go into it. He likes the stories. He likes the midrash. He likes the agadot. He likes the mystical things. That's what he likes. He doesn't want to stress his brain out. He says, such a person, you're always going to see. This person, you ask him, you learn Torah? Answer you with, yeah, for sure, good, I'm doing amazing. Yeah, tell me, do you remember the 39 melachot of Shabbat? I have a book, I could just read it to you. No, but do you remember it? No. Do you know what the Av Melacha is versus the Muktzeh versus, you understand the difference between these different things? No, confused about a lot of things. You understand the difference between Yom Tov and Shabbat? Confused. You understand Iruv Sfaradi, Iruv Ashkenazi? Confused. Alright, doesn't learn. But he claims to learn a lot of Torah. Person walks around with pride that doesn't belong to him. Why? Because you're not even the person that should be proud. Where Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon actually did know a lot of Torah. Meaning, technically, he had the right to be proud. Still should not be, but nonetheless had the right to. He knew a lot of Torah. You, on the other hand, you only know a little bit. But yeah, you walk around with a chip on your shoulder that might as well be a house. That's the joke, Rabotai. Where you have most of the time people have a smirk on their face, have this way of teaching as if they know all the answers. I very often find it in some of the people that we've spoken about in the past, like Manis Friedman and the others, where they give you answers off the cuff without mentioning a single source, as if they have the blueprint to creation, as if they know everything and they have an explanation to everything. But anyone that's a legitimate scholar, or even trying to be a scholar, that knows the basics of anything, knows that this person is lying through their teeth. They have no idea what they're talking about, and they're making it up as they're speaking. As they're speaking, they're making this stuff up. They didn't even prepare this stuff. They just have the gift of gab. But they give it to you with such charisma. They give it to you with such a power and such confidence that you're like, for sure he's right. This guy's a genius. He has the answers to all my questions. He has the answers to all my questions. He agrees with everything that I already thought, but he just gives it a nice color. And he walks around with a chip on his shoulder, thinking that he knows all the answers. And the reality is, Rabotai, that this person and pride shouldn't even be in the same room. Shouldn't be in the same room. And that's what the Chazon Ish says here, is that sometimes you'll see that a person is so proud but of something, but yet when you investigate the details, you see that not only this person shouldn't be proud, pride in him, pride in her shouldn't even be in the same room. It's a fantastic story I heard from my Rav, Rabbi Reuven, about Rabbi Meir Anshel Rothschild. Rabbi Meir Anshel Rothschild was the original Rothschild, was a big tzaddik and Talmid Chacham, who learned years in yeshivot and then went into the business world and became very successful. One day, his rabbi found, had the money of the community, and the money went away. Money was gone. And when Rothschild found this out, he went to his rabbi. He says, "Listen, Rabbi, I'm sorry, I stole the money. Here's all the money." And he gave him the money. And the rabbi was very surprised that his Talmid stole this money, but at least he admitted it. But as you would have it, a little time passed by and he discovered that really the maidservant, the non-Jewish maidservant that he had, she's the one that stole it, and she ended up returning the money. And of course, Rothschild felt so bad for his Rebbe that losing not only his money but the money of the community, that he just simply sold everything in his house to give his rabbi the money. And the rabbi saw this and he gave him a blessing that may he never lack, and all of his descendants may never lack in money. And until today, the Rothschild family is very, very wealthy. Unfortunately, no one near as religious as the original Rothschild, but nonetheless, the blessing did come true as far as money is concerned. Now, this Rabbi Meir Rothschild, he was a very, very humble person. And in those days, you didn't have pictures everywhere and internet and things of that nature. So many times you would go to different communities and people wouldn't know who he was because he was so humble. And one time he comes to this community and he was very, very particular about the times that he would pray. He would be on time to things, which is a very, very good midah, to be on time. One that all of us need to improve on, myself especially. But nonetheless, he saw that the Kehillah prays Mincha at 1 p.m. So he arrived exactly on time, and he sees 1 p.m. They're not starting. Okay, doesn't say nothing. 1:05, 1:10, 1:15. He sees there's people there, there's more than a minyan, but they're not praying. And yes, we're going to start praying. No, we're waiting. Okay, another few minutes. We're going to pray now. We have 50 people. No, we're waiting. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Oh, we're waiting for the gvir. We're waiting for the gvir of the town, the rich man of the town. When he comes, that's when we start. Okay. A half hour later, finally, the rich man waltzes in and they start praying. Okay. Arvit comes later on. That's the time. Rothschild shows up exactly on time and he sees the same exact show all over again. Sees they're waiting and waiting and waiting, even though there's plenty of people there. Waiting. Half hour later, the rich man shows up and that's when they start. And Rothschild says, this guy is taking advantage of these people. I'm going to teach him a lesson. The next morning, in Shachrit, they have a Aliyah Torah. I think it was either a Monday or a Thursday. And the Rothschild says, I want to buy this Aliyah. Okay, come, buy this Aliyah. They give him the Aliyah. Okay. And he declares in front, he says, say this out loud. I am buying this Aliyah for the value of the Gvir's net worth. Whatever his net worth is, that's what I'm going to donate to the community. Everybody says, no, who are you? You know how much money he has? You know how many millions he has? Come on, no, seriously, what are you going to donate? 5 rubles, 10 rubles, 20? Go, no, I'm 100% serious. I am donating his net worth to the community. That's what I'm donating. They say to him, who are you to challenge, to say such a thing? He says, my name is Meir Rothschild. At that moment, all of their faces became white. They didn't realize the richest man in the world, has been going to their shul for the last few days. And they say, okay, fine. They run to the rich man and say, listen, Kvodo, please tell us, how much money do you have? Show us proof of how much money you have, because with this kind of money, we can build a whole new community. We can build a bigger shul, a bigger yeshiva, a bigger this, a bigger that. We can another mikveh. We can do a lot of things. Kvodo, Rothschild has the money. Please tell us. The Gvir said, no, I will not participate in such a thing. I will not tell you what I have. But please, at least show us something. This is come on, Bal Tashchit, where we have a donation from the richest man in the world. Please tell us at least a little bit of something. Tell us you can help the community. No, I'm not going to tell you nothing. No matter what they said, he refused to say a thing. They come to Rothschild and they say, listen, we don't know what to do. How do we evaluate it? He goes, don't worry. I have people work for me. I'm going to find out in a few days exactly what he has. Anything that he has to be written with the government, with the local city, whatever property he owns. I have accountants and lawyers and so on that work for me. Within a few days, I'll find out exactly everything that he has. People are happy, great, we're going to find out, kind of confused why the rich man of the community is not participating, but okay, we're going to get this donation. Everybody's starting to lick their lips, ready to get this big thing. Within a few days, Rothschild gets a report from his people. Here you go. The building that he says that he owns is not his. The house that he's in is in foreclosure. The land that he has is lent to somebody else and it's being taken from him. And this and that, in so many words, net worth, negative. Not even $1. But he wants to be called the Gvil and torture the rest of you, making you wait for tefillah. Of course, I'm assuming that Rothschild helped the community anyway, but nonetheless, you see here that many times these people that walk around with puffy chests saying they win, they're this, they're that, usually they don't have anything to be proud of. They don't have anything to be proud of, especially if they mock people that you really can admire, people really that you need to admire because they do have something that they possess that's much more valuable than popularity or likes or anything like that. It's very important for a person to know who to admire. Because as Rabbeinu Yonah says, that ish lefi ma'alalo, a person is judged based on who he admires. If you admire the real tzaddikim, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will look at you in such a way that's like, this person loves my Torah. He deserves to get a little bit more wisdom. He deserves to get more of my Torah. But if you admire the wicked, you admire the gangsters, you admire the sinners, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, what do you and I have in common, Bichlal? What do you have in my Torah that you even speak of it? This, Rabotai, is one of the most critical things, and one of the things that you will constantly see from people that have false pride is that they make fun of the people that are the greatest people in history. And the punishment that a person gets from such things is so severe that even if they did not intend to make fun, even if they did not intend to sound like they're mocking or disagreeing or so on, they get rebuked in such a way. Because again, if you're going to defend the Torah because someone went against it, that's a mitzvah. But if you're going to personally insult a Talmid Chacham, you're going to personally go attack somebody just for your own views, your own ratings, your own opinion, and so on, you have a very, very serious problem. You have a very serious problem. And there's countless stories like it. There's one time a couple comes to the Baba Sali, and they say to the Rav, we've been struggling that for 10 years we're married, and we haven't had a child. The Baba Sali, who clearly had Ruach HaKodesh, says to them, you have a kitrug against you, and I can even tell you who it's from. The person looks at the Baba Sali and says, please, Kvodo, tell me, what's somebody has something against me? He says, yeah, you have a very big kitrug against you. You offended a very big Talmid Chacham. And the person is thinking, who did I offend? Who did I offend? He says, it's the rabbi that did your chuppah. The rabbi that did your chuppah, Rav Provoski, he is the one that you offended. Rav David Provoski was the Rosh Yeshiva of Ponovich. Was clearly one of the Gedolei Ador. Just so you get an understanding of the giant, the next rabbi that led Yeshivat Ponovich after Rav Provoski is Rav Shach, another Gedolei Ador. So he was the rabbi of the chuppah of this couple. And the Baba Sali is telling them, you offended him. They're thinking, what did I do? What did I do? And I don't remember. Oh, wait a minute. In the beginning, when the chuppah was about to be made, the family of the wife wanted to change some things on the ketubah, which is not what the halacha allows. Halacha doesn't allow that. But they wanted to change certain things of the chuppah, of the ketubah, and Rav Provoski said, no, I'm not doing it. You want to do it? I'm not going to do a chuppah v'kiddushin. So the family of the wife said, okay, so go. We don't need you then. We don't need you then. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. We're going to find a rabbi that does it for us. But then the Chatan realized this is a giant, this is a chacham. No, we have to go and apologize. So they went and apologized to the rabbi. We're sorry. Please come back. Do the chuppah and kiddushim with the ketubah exactly as you want. And he came back and he did the chuppah and kiddushim. So the Baba Sali says, even though that's the case, there was still a little bit. You were responsible for offending a Talmid Chacham. The Chatan and the Kala go in a car, drive all the way up to Bnei Brak, to the Rav's house, get to his house, please, we're sorry. And they start crying hysterical. And the Rav says, why? What's wrong? What happened? And they said, Kvod Rav, we're so sorry that we offended you 10 years ago at this. He goes, how did you offend me? Oh, the whole story and this and that. And the Baba Sali told us that that's the reason why we haven't had a child in 10 years. All of a sudden, they see Rav Provoski start crying hysterical, uncontrollably crying. And now the couple is confused. Why is the Rav crying? Eventually they calm him down and say, Kvod Rav, what happened? He says, I'm so sorry that I caused you such agony and pain, that you have suffered not having a child for 10 years because of me. Please forgive me. No, Rabbi, forgive us. Forgive me, forgive us. Baruch Hashem. 9 months later, they have a baby. And end the Brit Milah, a big present shows up, and a messenger. Who's this from? Some guy named David. David who? Some guy named David Provoski. You mean Rav Provoski sent us this giant present? Yeah, I don't know who he is. It's one of the biggest rabbis. They see a note in there. Again, I apologize. This is the present that you should have gotten 9 years ago. I apologize for delaying it. Obviously, he's a tzaddik. There's no question about it. But the key is we see how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes it personally when someone goes against one of his chachamim, goes against one of his tzaddikim, goes against one of the people that toils over his Torah, both in regards to halacha as well as in a midrash. When a person mocks such a person, literally they're buying themselves one-way ticket to Gehenom. But in this world, needless to say in the next one, the amount of love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has, for the Talmidei Chachamim is beyond what a person can understand. Because it's not just stories like this that you have. Am Yisrael is full of stories, full of miraculous stories that are so miraculous that if there wasn't eyewitnesses to every one of these stories, it would be hard to believe. Another story I heard from my Rav. Rav Aaron Kotler, Alav Shalom, was one of the Gdolim of America that built Judaism in America. His son, Rav Shneur Kotler, was the Rosh Yeshiva after him, And Rav Shneur Kotler had a son, Rav Meir Kotler. And when Rav Meir was ready to get married, found a shidduch, they found that Rav Meir had the machala, they found the cancer in him. And they told the family, we found out that Meir has the disease, you don't have to complete the shidduch. No reason for you, for your daughter, young daughter, to suffer, with having such a sick husband. Who knows how long he's going to live and so on. So, don't worry if you break the shidduch. It's understandable. The family was a family of tzaddikim. They said, no. We already did the engagement. He's like our son. Okay, fine. But what about your daughter? She has to choose. She has to say. And they went to the tzaddikah and they asked her, what do you want to do? She says, if I can get a blessing from Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Gdol Ador of America, one of the biggest Gdolim in the world, if I can get a blessing from Rav Moshe Feinstein that I will have at least one child from Meir, continue. They went to Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe Feinstein was amazed at this tzaddikah and this beautiful story. And he says, you're going to have a son. I promise you're going to have a son. Tzaddikah married Rav Meir, and Baruch Hashem, they had a kid. And shortly later, Rav Meir passed away. Now, the story doesn't end there. Because Rav Shneur Kotler had a family, and at the same time that his son passed away, there was another family member that the woman passed away. And he said, why don't we make a shidduch? Why don't we make a shidduch with this wonderful tzaddikah who was married to my son, and another tzaddik that was married to somebody else in the family? Why not? He's a widow, he's a widow, she's a widow. Make a shidduch. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So they made a shidduch and they got married. And as you would have it, they get married. He came with 3 kids. She came with 1 kid. And they're trying, BeEzrat Hashem, maybe we'll have some more kids. And as you would have it, nothing happens. A little time passes. Nothing. So you say, you know what? Why don't we go to the doctor and see what happens? Maybe it's the problem was with the husband. Maybe the problem is with the wife. Maybe there is no problem. Let's just go check. So they go to the doctor. And the doctors check and check and check. And they say to the husband, there's nothing wrong with you. Good. The wife says, you have no ability to have a child. She says, that's not possible. It's not possible. I forced you. Because I'm sorry to tell you, but you have no ability to have a child. She goes, it's not possible. It's not possible. I can have a child. He said, listen, we're sorry to tell you, you were born with a birth defect where your uterus is simply incapable of carrying a child, incapable of having anything there. Your uterus is practically a piece of meat that's dead. There's nothing there. You cannot have a child. She says to him, listen, it's impossible. She takes out a picture. She says, this is my kid. She says, you're a liar. It's not possible for you to have a kid. The doctors don't know what just hit them. They don't know what just hit them. Why? They look at science. They look at nature. They look at reality. They say it's not possible for this body that was born with this defect that's simply incapable of having a child to have the same child that's showing me in a picture. And when they learn that this is really our kid, they say, we have no explanation for this. Baruch Hashem, Am Yisrael does have an explanation for it. What's the explanation? The Gemara says, when the tzaddik decrees, HaKadosh Baruch Hu fulfills. When Moshe Feinstein heard the story, and promised the young lady, the young tzaddikah, that she'll have a child. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you have a child. Yeah, but what about the uterus? That's for regular people. That's for people without HaShem. That's for people that don't have an understanding of what HaShem is. Have no understanding of how much He loves His tzaddikim. How much He loves His chachamim. Have no understanding of that. When a person does not have an understanding of what chachamim are in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, stories like this will simply not make sense to them. Miracles do not make sense to them. Why? They're rational. Everything has to make sense. But truth be told, if you ever learn the Torah from beginning to end, even if it's just the written Torah of 5 books of Moses, already at the first page, nothing makes sense. And the second page, the same. And the third, the same. And the fourth, the same. Why? Because everything in the Torah is supernatural. Everything in the Torah is not normal. If normal is defined by you, humans. If the normal is defined by the one who decides what normal is. If the normal is decided by the one who created normal, then there is no normal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides what it is. And that's why the Ramban, Nachmanides, says that anyone who doesn't believe that every single thing in the world is supernatural is an apikos. Everything is a miracle. There is no normal. The apple in your hand, or the fact that you're able to see somebody that's thousands of miles away speaking to you and you can hear it live. Everything is supernatural. Everything. And anyone out there that makes fun of the supernatural or the supernatural teachings is simply a person that has studied laws without clarity of who gave the laws. Studied laws without understanding of who put those laws to paper. People that live the miracle day in, day out. But unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, we have many people out there that will pretend like they know what they're talking about and show how chutzpah is growing faster than their knowledge. At the time of Rabbi Akiva Igel and Rabbi Yaakov Milisa, there were 2 great sages. They saw that there was some kids in the neighborhood over there, and Rabbi Akiva Igel and Rabbi Yaakov Milisa decided to sit on the bench. And the kids passed by them without saying hello, without nothing. So Rabbi Yaakov Milisa said to Rabbi Akiva Igel, he says, you see, this must be the Messianic times. Why? He says, because in the Gemara, it says in Masechet Sotah, page 49b, and a few places in Masechet Sanhedrin, and a few other places, it says that in the generation before Mashiach, is going to be a lot of chutzpah. A lot of chutzpah, where the young people will have no respect for the elders. These young kids passing by and don't even say hello, don't even pay any respect, nothing. Rabbi Akiva Igel says to him, I'm sorry, my dear friend, but I believe you're mistaken. He said, how so? He says, at the time of Mashiach, it's not going to be that the young kids disregard 2 chachamim. At the time of Mashiach, the kids are going to look at the 2 chachamim sitting and look at them as if they are rude because they're not getting up for the young kids to sit down. That's the time of Mashiach. Unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, we are at those times where you have young ignoramuses out there in the world making fun of the real elders of Am Yisrael, of the real Chachamim. And they frown upon anyone that applauds them. They frown upon anyone that fights for them. They frown upon anyone that promotes their teachings, because they figure that they know better than the big Chachamim of yesteryear. This is one of the most absurd things that has become normal in our generation, where every youngster thinks he knows better than a Gedolei Ador, feels perfectly fine to disagree with Rav Ovadia or Rav Eliashiv or the Chafetz Chaim or any of the Gedolim of the previous generation. Needless to say, they feel at home making fun of the Rambam and his Psak Halacha, or to tell you that you don't have to listen to the Shulchan Aruch and you can become your own posek. They feel perfectly fine with this. This is the joke of the year. But unfortunately, it's also one of the greatest signs that Mashiach is coming soon. Because the amount of chutzpah, the amount of absurd behavior that's completely, literally completely absurd to a point where it blows your mind away, is becoming standard. In fact, it even has supporters. And not only that it has supporters, it has much more supporters than the truth has. Why? Because most people are ignorant themselves, and they don't know that the liars, that the heretics, that those that mock the Torah are actually even mocking it. They simply think that those people are good speakers, innovative, creative, modern thinking, and all types of descriptions that are favorable for these evil people. This is how Korach led, or should we say misled, 250 rabbis and countless other people to go on his side against Moshe Rabbeinu. This is how, by simply outspeaking, by simply creating a doubt in people's minds. This, unfortunately, Rabotai, is happening, which means that the only way that a person can assure themselves that they will not fall prey to one of these evil monsters is by focusing their own time on learning the truth, spending it the right way, and evaluating the truth, and not simply believing everything that they hear or everything that they read, but rather investigating to see where can they find friends that are bigger than them, that agree with them. The Gemara says many times that such and such sage said this and he found a friend. What does it mean he found a friend? He found another big chacham that agreed with him. Why does he, if he's such a chacham, why does he need a friend? Because that's how we know we're in the right direction in the Torah. That's how we know we're in the right direction. If you are alone and no one agrees with your psak, you're wrong. You are wrong. Why? It's not possible for all of the sages that preceded you, that learned for many more years than you in a capacity that's beyond your comprehension. It's not possible that they are all wrong and you are right. Not possible. It's not possible that you're going to walk into a hospital right out of grad school, right out of med school, and show all of the experts that have been doing it for 50 years that they're wrong on everything that they know. It's not possible. But yet people do it every day. They tell the sages that they're wrong with their junior high school education. They tell the sages that toiled in Torah for decades that they're wrong, and this junior high school kid tells them that they're wrong. This is chutzpat izgeh. This is the nerve of this generation. Nerve of people like Meza or Friedman or Alevi or all of these reshaim that we've discussed in the past. Because the reason why we've gone against them time and time again and repeat their name time and time again is because their poison continues to infiltrate the Jewish communities in such a way that it's poisoning more and more people's minds to the point where more and more people think that they're right. And you're allowed to doubt the sages. You're allowed to disagree with the Shulchan Aruch. You are in the same playing field as Rabbi Yosef Karo and the Rambam and the Rosh and the Ritva. And you could simply say whatever you want about what the Gemara means according to your likings. Even if you don't have any friends that agree with you. Even if you don't have any friends that agree with you, and perhaps you'll go and you'll say, no, but we do have a friend that agreed with us because we have a big sage that did say the same thing. Yes, but did his psak get accepted among Am Yisrael as the halacha? If it did, then that would be the psak today. But if his psak did not have any friends, even though he's a great sage, you cannot follow it. Even if he's a great sage, if his psak halacha from 200, 300, 400 years ago, he said it, he's a giant chacham, much greater than we could ever be, but it wasn't accepted among Am Yisrael, it didn't have any friends, we cannot follow it. We have to follow what the halacha is, which is the majority. So you can't just say, no, but we have a friend, we have a tzaddik, we have a chacham that did say what we say. No, it's not so simple. It's not so simple that you could just pick and choose which one whenever you want. It's not a supermarket where you pick your vegetables. That's not how you pick halacha. You have to go with the majority of chachamim. What was psak halacha? When a person does not know how this whole halachic process works, they're even in graver danger when they start thinking that they can think independently. When you don't even know what's allowed and what's allowed, and yet you act as if you are one of the great sages, you are even in more danger than the rest of the public. This is why I always tell people, be a good little boy, be a good little girl, and listen to the people that are greater than you. Who are those? The ones that have been verifiably proven to be greater than you. The Gdolei Ador, the ones that all of Am Yisrael says they are the greatest. That's who you listen to. Whoever is showing you their material, whether it's the publishing house through a book, or it's a lecturer, or it's your local rabbi, if they're teaching you what the greatest sages of the generation have said, you're in the right direction. But if they're telling you think independently, think in the way that you want, think modernly, think critically, think whatever you're going in the wrong direction. This is also another thing that's infiltrating the educational system in the yeshiva world as well as the secular world, where there is a program called critical thinking that unfortunately stems from the heretical teachings of Socrates and now is trying to infiltrate the school system, including the yeshiva system, where they're telling people that they can start these programs called critical thinking. And it sounds good to be critically thinking. It sounds clever. It sounds good. It sounds innovative. But it's nothing but that. It's nothing like that. What is it? It's teaching you how to think like an apikos. Teaching you how to think like a heretic. Where you reject everything that's been taught. And think for yourself. You reject what the Chachamim say and decide for yourself. You reject what the Masoret say and decide if the narrator is even telling the truth. They reject what the rabbis say and say, maybe you know better. That's what these programs are doing, and unfortunately they're going into the school system. For sure they're going into the public school system, and now there are some people that are allowing it into yeshiva systems. I heard in New York they're having this problem. I'm not sure in other places, but for sure this is something that's going into the world in a bigger capacity right now. And it's very important for a person to know. To go and doubt the Chachamim is for sure guaranteeing a person that they're going to lose. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not going to reinvent the Torah. Not for you, not for me, not for anybody. What he's going to do is have the same exact Torah that he's given to us, the same exact Torah that the Chachamim toiled over, be the same exact Torah that the Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to accept. And for all of those people that like to poke fun at the mystical teachings of the Mashiach, such as Meza, who says, some fools think that the Mashiach is something supernatural, that he even knows your thoughts. This type of attitude shows that not only did they not read the oral Torah, such as the Gemara from beginning to end, or the Zohar from beginning to end, but not even the Tanakh, because there's clear verses in the Torah that say this. You look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, where it talks about the Mashiach. In chapter 11, verse number 3, where it says, V'aricho b'yirat Adonai, v'lo lemar'eh enav yishpot, v'lo lemishma oznav yochiach. Where the pasuk says, he will be imbued with a spirit of fear for Hashem, and will not heed to judge by what his eyes see, nor decide by what his ears hear. He's going to judge everyone without listening to their words, without seeing how they look. Doesn't matter how long your beard's going to be, or whether you're Ashkenazi or Sfaradi, or how good of a speaker you are. So how is he going to judge? The following verse, in verse number 4, says, V'ruach spatav yamit rasha. Simply with his words, he's going to kill the Reshaim, just with a word. If that's not supernatural, what is? If that's not supernatural, what is? Here we see, Rabotai, that those that speak against supernatural teachings, those that speak against MUSSAR, those that speak against the midrashim, those that speak against the chachamim, those that speak against anything that's the basic masorot of Am Yisrael, are simply soldiers of the Satan himself trying to capture you. Trying to capture you, trying to destroy your neshama, trying to destroy your family, trying to destroy Am Yisrael. Sometimes they wear a kippah, sometimes they have a beard, sometimes they look religious, sometimes they even act religious. And only you can save you. Only you can save you. Your dedication to Torah, your dedication to KIRUV is the only thing that can save you. Now, of course, we're going to do whatever we can to help Am Yisrael, but every person has to help themselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has blessed us with a lot of good things over these last few years, a lot of success, and even more and more success as we go on. Right now, we have, Baruch Hashem, lots of people watching the Shurim. Now, what a lot of people would like to look at is just to show you an example of, even in the world of teaching Torah, there's a way to look at numbers. And we'll finish at this point, number one, to prove a point, and number two, to make all of those supporters and those that are learning a little happier, because there's so much going on in the world that's negative. We have this, Reshaim now are becoming more and more popular in the Jewish world, whether it's Meza, or it's Manis Friedman, or the rest of the Dror, all these wicked people that continue to grow like weed. Then you have Reshaim in the government world, where you have Bennett and Lapid, Imach Shema B'zicham Stem, where they're becoming heads of the government, and they're trying to pass new laws to pretty much destroy the Torah, and so on and so forth. But don't worry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't forget. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything, and at the same time that those are growing, the Torah is growing as well. To give you a small example, if you look at people that are trying to get the attention of the public, and I'm going to try to tell you, they're going to give you an illusion. I'm going to tell you, listen, whoever has the most amount of views, that's the winner. That's the winner. Why? Because you see views on YouTube and on Facebook and everything else, you see views. But if you really care about Torah, you don't care about views. What do you care about? You care about how much you've been able to change people. Now, you're never going to really know how much you've been able to change people, aside from people sending you messages and so on. But even then, you get messages every single day. Still, you don't have an understanding of how many people you've changed their lives. You don't know, because not everybody contacts you. But one thing you do know, that if you teach the truth, it's bound to change people's lives. Now, how do you know if people are listening? Simple. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a new number. What's a new number? Watch time. Meaning, how much of your Torah is being viewed? Not how many times people are clicking on it and then clicking off. Because you can see a video that has 1 million views. But in reality, 5 minutes of total watch time, because the video is 10 seconds, and most people watch the 10 seconds, or perhaps they don't even watch the whole thing. So it doesn't mean much. Watch time, on the other hand, how much people actually watched, is what's important. Now, the average YouTube video, for example, right now has an average view time of 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Some have a watch time that's considered very high, 8 minutes. Baruch Hashem, our organization has an average watch time of over 21 minutes. 21 minutes, Yishtabach Shemo. So that already shows the people that are watching our videos are watching the videos, which is a very good thing. Now, what about total watch time? Last year around this time, I told you that we grew tremendously. We doubled everything. We were at a point where we were at 5 million minutes per month of people watching our Torah. 5 million minutes per month of people watching myself, Rav Ephraim, Rav Chaim, Baruch Hashem, 5 million minutes a month. That's about 60 million minutes a year. So Baruch Hashem, that was a huge accomplishment for us. We're very happy about it. 60 million minutes. You're already in the big leagues. Well, Baruch Hashem, Rabotai, since then we've grown further. If you look just at my channel, I got this report in the last couple of days from YouTube. I'm going to show it to you. A few things. We have, Baruch Hashem, more channels now. My personal channel, last month, 28 days, had 9.5 minutes by itself. 9.5 million minutes just by itself, just on YouTube, not considering WhatsApp and Facebook and everything else that's out there, LinkedIn and so on. Just the YouTube channel alone, one of the channels, 9.5 million. But that's just the English channel. Then you have, Baruch Hashem, the tzaddikim that run our German channel, 1.1 million. 1.1 million in the German channel. Then you have the Portuguese team, 1.6 million. Last month, all this is last month, 28 days, last month, 1.6 million. That's in the Portuguese. Then you have the French channel, 1.3 million. Then you have Rabbi Ephraim's channel, 892,000. Long story short, last month alone, our channels accumulated total watch time was over 19 million minutes in 1 month. 19 million minutes, ishtabach shimo la'ad. What we used to achieve last year in 4 months, we did in 1 month. That means that we have the run rate right now of over a quarter million minutes per month. And BeEzrat Hashem will continue growing, which means that there's more and more people, not just pressing like, not just watching for 2 seconds and go somewhere else to go watch a cat chase a dog. No, but people actually learning Torah, Rabotai. They're learning from the lectures of Tikkun BEIT. They're learning from the lectures of HaShem Took Back His Millions. They're learning from this series of Jewish HaShkafa and Igeret Agra and all of the movies. Baruch Hashem, they're learning. More and more people are doing tshuva. Every single day we're getting more and more letters of people doing tshuva. Just today, I got a mail from a young man that his whole family is frum. His whole family's religious whole life, but when he was a teenager, went completely off the derech. Went completely off, got into a lot of trouble, got a lot of bad things. Just a couple of weeks ago, one of the tzaddikim that bought the flyers was walking around in the neighborhood and saw this guy sitting on his porch and decided to give him a flyer. He says, that flyer that I got, Rabbi, changed my life. I watched the movie Tikkun BEIT and I realized it's time for me to change my life, and I've been protecting my BEIT ever since. It's been a few weeks. I've been learning Torah. I started going to shul. I started learning with the rabbi. Just like that, Rabotai. Just like that, you can save a Jewish neshama. Just like that. That's why I tell people, do whatever you can to learn more Torah, to publicize more Torah, to help us publicize more Torah, to help us teach more Torah. Why? Because we, at the minimum, at the very, very minimum, have to do as much as the Reshaim are doing. They're working hard. We have to work hard. They're working tirelessly. We have to work tirelessly. They're learning new tricks. We have to learn more Torah. They're full of Tumah. We have to have more Kedusha. You're not going to beat the Reshaim with guns. You're not going to beat the Reshaim with violence. You're only going to beat the Reshaim with Kedusha and Torah. That's it. That's the only way, Rabotai. And Baruch Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the tools to do it. And every single one of you that watches the shulim, that shares, that donates, this is all yours. You are 100% partners in all of this. Almost 20 million of Torah in 1 month. Ishtabach shimo la'ad. What was not possible in any other generation is possible now. We are at this stage literally have more watch time than practically anybody else that reports their watch time, as far as per person. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants more emet in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants more emet in the world, and Baruch Hashem, you're all partners in it. So at the very least, we see that despite all of the craziness that's happening in the world, all of the confusion that's happening in the world, there is good. There is good. What we have to do is continue pushing even harder for there to be even more good, even more Torah, even more Kedusha, even more Tshuva. That's our job, Rabotai. This too should give each and every single one of us the chizuk to continue learning Torah, to continue supporting Torah, to continue publicizing Torah, and to continue believing that each and every single one of us has an opportunity to do tshuva, has an opportunity to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we have to work at it. Part of that job is to fight the evil. It's a job that each and every single one of us has. Some on a bigger level, some on a smaller level. Some on a public level, some on a personal level. Where sometimes you have to say, HaShem, destroy the Amalek inside me. The Amalek inside me. Why inside me? Sometimes each one of us has a little bit of Amalek inside us. A Yetzirah that tells us we should go against Hashem. A Yetzirah that tells us that we should go with the bad people. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, I can't fight the bad people. I'm not strong enough. But please give me the strength to fight the one that's inside me. Fight the one that's inside me. Destroy that one. Give me the strength to destroy that one. Because if I'm able to destroy that one, then I'll be able to publicize more Torah and maybe perhaps even destroy other ones. This, Rabotai, is critical for each one to know. And the only way to do it is by learning Torah from beginning to end. Little by little, a little every day, more every day. And BeEzrat Hashem we succeed. More halacha, more MUSSAR, more weekly parasha, more midrash, more. And that way each and every one of us will be able to see the supernatural in our lives. Because our lives themselves will become supernatural. Just like these numbers are practically supernatural. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'amen.
Shalom V'cha everyone. I'm making a short message for all the people that ask me all the time if they have money coming in and they want to help with KIRUV, but they also want to help the poor people that we usually do during the holidays, but also during the year. They always ask me, is there something going on? And the truth is, there's always something going on. I always tell you during the lectures of different stories that we deal with, whether it's to help somebody come up with money for a surgery, or to help a poor family have food for Shabbat, or to help pay for tuition for someone that simply doesn't have it. And the stories go on and on and on and on. And in a moment, you're going to see something that just happened in the last couple of days. A family that's so poor in Eretz Yisrael that did not have money to buy simply normal mattresses. They were sleeping on something the equivalent of metal. The only thing this reminds me of is the concentration camps, Hashem Yishmo. And these stories come across our desk on a regular basis, and after verification, we send our team members to go and see and make sure that everything is legitimate. We try to do our best to help, and there's just not enough time in a day to make a campaign for every single cause. So what we do is we simply give, and we trust that Hashem will give us to help people, because there's just not enough time. And sometimes time is very sensitive, so it takes time to verify things, but also it's just one of those things where you really can't wait for people to decide whether they want to help this poor person or not. If there's a need, we're there. And BeEzrat Hashem will continue to be there. So for any of you that is contemplating what to do with that maaseh, with that 10% that you give, that you need to give as a Jew and also as a non-Jew, for the sake of Torah, whether to give it just to KIRUV, or to give it to help people do tshuva, or to give it to help poor people, and how to mix it. Bottom line is, our organization does it all. And we do it on a regular basis, and there's simply not enough, because there's so many people that need help. It breaks your heart. And you'll see that in this video, our team member, it breaks your heart, our team member starts crying. That's how hard some of these situations are. And we try to publicize a lot of the different videos without embarrassing anyone and showing faces, to show people that their money is going to good places, to help people not only do tshuva, not only publicize the Torah, publicize Hashem's name and His glory, but also to help people survive in this difficult world. So if you want to help us, you want to join us, you want to be a partner with us, BeEzrat Hashem is very, very happy to be a partner with you, and we look forward to hearing more and more good news, so we can tell you that you are part of another big miracle that happened to someone in Klal Yisrael. Kol tu bracha v'atzlacha.
אנשים יקרים, אני באתי פה לבית של משפחה נזקקת. האמא אושפזה בבית חולים עם כאבים מאוד חזקים בגב. הבאתי לה עכשיו סל מזון לשבת. חשכו עיניי, אני בא לי לבכות, תראו על איזה מזרון היא יושנת, כל הברזלים בחוץ, תראו, על זה היא יושנת, מזה היא קיבלה דלקת שלא עוברת לה, תראו, זה המזרונים שהם יושנים אליהם, אני חייבת את העזרה שלכם, אני פשוט ישבתי על המיטה, כל הברזלים תקועים לה בגב, תראו מה זה, אני פשוט נוגעת בברזל. על מה אמא יושנת? יושנת על ברזלים, בגלל זה כואב לה הגב, כן? עכשיו אנחנו מביאים לה מזרונים חדשים, ונשים לה על המיטה. תודה רבה לארגון BeEzrat השם ולרב ירון שדאג לפני שבת למשפחה נזקקת למזרונים חדשים. הם ישנו המשפחה על מזרונים קרועים עם ברזלים בחוץ. ארגון BeEzrat השם, אין עליכם בעולם.